What happens after the last breath? Does the soul dissolve into nothingness, or does it journey through realms beyond human understanding? Welcome, Soul Explorer, to the ultimate enigma. Today, we delve into one of the most profound and mysterious teachings of Tibetan Buddhism, the Bardo Thodol, more commonly known in the West as the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Picture a guide that walks beside you through the deepest, most enigmatic aspects of existence. This is the essence of the Bardo Thodol. But no, this is far more than a simple text about the end of life. It serves as a map, a spiritual compass that unveils what unfolds immediately after death. Prepare yourself, for we are about to cross this threshold together, decipher its profound messages, and perhaps grasp a little more about the nature of existence. The Bardo Thodol was authored by Padmasambhava, a legendary, almost mythical figure in Tibetan Buddhism. Born in India, he is widely revered as the one who introduced Buddhism to Tibet in the 8th century. In Tibetan tradition, he is known as Guru Rinpoche, meaning the precious teacher. Yet, Padmasambhava was more than just a monk. He was a deeply enlightened spiritual master, a yogi who mastered mystical practices and esoteric wisdom. The Bardo Thodol emerged from his aspiration to guide not only the living but also the deceased, offering a path to liberation even after life has passed. From an early age, Padmasambhava displayed remarkable mystical powers, earning recognition as a Mahasiddha, a being who has reached an extraordinary level of spiritual enlightenment, gaining miraculous spiritual abilities or siddhis. He was invited to Tibet by King Trisong Detsen, who sought to expand Buddhism and spiritually strengthen the nation, uniting the people under a common belief system. At that time, Tibet was a place of intense shamanic practices and animist beliefs, strongly rooted in the Bon religion, the indigenous Tibetan spiritual practice. This diverse and even chaotic spiritual atmosphere presented challenges to the spread of Buddhism. Upon arriving in Tibet, Padmasambhava faced resistance from various cultural and spiritual forces. The local deities and spirits of Bon traditions resisted Buddhism, and Padmasambhava used his knowledge of magic and tantric ritualism to tame these spirits. This integration of Bon deities and practices into Tibetan Buddhism was crucial to establishing a lasting spiritual foundation. Thus, Padmasambhava founded Tibet's first Buddhist monastery, the Samye Monastery, and began to transmit profound teachings about the mind, reality, and the cycle of existence known as samsara. In Tibetan Buddhism, there is an understanding that death is not the end, but a transitional state, a moment of opening to the possibility of spiritual liberation. Padmasambhava understood that, at the moment of death, the mind enters a special state where, free from the distractions of the physical body, it becomes more receptive to the ultimate truth. He realized that this was a unique opportunity for liberation, but he also knew that most people, when they die, are lost in illusions and fears that keep them from this possibility. His mission was to create a guide that could be recited by those accompanying the dying, or even studied in life, so that the mind would be prepared for the bardos, the transitional states after death. In essence, he wanted to ease suffering and open doors to enlightenment, even when everything seems uncertain and dissolving. This compassion is the foundation of the Bardo Thodol. He also understood that many might not attain enlightenment during their lifetime, but he saw death as a final opportunity for realization. Thus, he provided guidance for practitioners and followers to recognize the clear light, the pure manifestation of the mind, at the moment of their passing. The Bardo Thodol leads us through 3 key states, or bardos, that every soul must navigate. The first is the Chikai Bardo, the moment of death. In the Chikai Bardo, the soul encounters the actual moment of death, a transitional point where the physical body disintegrates and consciousness is released from its earthly limitations. Once this dissolution is complete, the soul faces the primordial clear light, described in the Bardo Thodol as a radiant, pure, and vast light. This clear light embodies the absolute nature of the mind, a state of untainted, unconditional awareness, free from duality, fear, or attachment. Some refer to it as the higher self, others as the solar mind. This state has many names, all pointing to a realm of totality and infinite peace. For the spiritual seeker, the Chikai Bardo holds the potential for final liberation. If the soul recognizes the clear light as its inherent nature, it can attain instant freedom, nirvana, bypassing the other stages of the bardos. This recognition is not reliant on rituals or doctrines, but is an immediate and complete experience of truth, where the mind perceives itself without distortion or filtering. In this moment, all conditioning, karma, and identities dissolve. However, for the unprepared soul, the overwhelming intensity of the clear light can be terrifying. Rather than recognizing it as their true nature, the soul may perceive it as a threat, driven by fear or attachment to the familiar. If this happens, the soul retreats, missing its chance for liberation, and descends into the subsequent stages of the bardos, where it faces increasingly distorted and limiting visions shaped by its karmic patterns. The second state is the Chonyid bardo, the bardo of visions. As Carl Gustav Jung once observed, gods and demons are projections of the unconscious, potent and unavoidable until we understand them as parts of ourselves. In the Chonyid bardo, the soul finds itself in a realm where the physical body no longer exists and the boundaries of the material world fade away. Here, the soul experiences projections of its own mind, manifestations that may take the form of both angelic beings and unsettling, terrifying apparitions. This bardo unveils the essence of the mind, where all that has been repressed, longed for, or feared comes to the surface in an amplified form. The visions in the Chonyid bardo are direct reflections of the soul's accumulated emotional and karmic experiences across lifetimes. These visions manifest in two main types: peaceful visions and wrathful visions. In the peaceful vision stage, the soul is initially greeted by peaceful deities that represent enlightened and benevolent aspects of consciousness. These figures might appear as Buddhas, bodhisattvas, or deities of light, radiating the positive qualities the soul has cultivated. The peaceful visions possess a serene presence and offer a sense of peace. However, for the unprepared mind, these visions may be overwhelming or incomprehensible, leading the soul to retreat and doubt the reality of this experience. In the wrathful vision stage, if the soul does not recognize the peaceful, essential nature of the initial visions, it is gradually confronted by more intense visions known as the wrathful deities. These figures are manifestations of anger, fear, and repressed desires, taking on monstrous and unsettling forms. Importantly, these wrathful deities are not external or malevolent entities, but expressions of the mind itself, reflecting the passions and attachments that still bind the soul to the cycle of suffering. The Chonyid bardo is described as a state where the mind is free from physical limitations. It is a pure state of psychic manifestation, where everything is amplified. The visions that arise resemble dreams, but unlike ordinary dreams, they carry a striking clarity and vividness. This occurs because the mind, now free from the body, experiences its internal energies in an unfiltered way. Everything that was repressed and accumulated emerges with an almost tangible intensity. These visions are considered opportunities for learning and enlightenment, as each one represents an aspect of the self that needs integration or transcendence. Those who maintain full awareness during this bardo can perceive that all these visions, good and bad, peaceful and wrathful, are mere creations of the mind. The recognition of this truth enables the soul to dissolve fear and attain liberation. At this stage, the Bardo Thodol advises the soul to focus on the clear light, the primordial essence of the mind, described as a vast and pure radiance. Recognizing the clear light is the key to total liberation, as it represents the innate nature of all beings. It is the sun amidst the clouds of visions, the light that remains unchanged despite all mental projections. If the soul manages to see through the visions, it can achieve enlightenment and thus transcend the cycle of rebirth. However, recognizing the clear light is not easy for the common mind. For most beings, the visions are so real and filled with personal meaning that it becomes challenging to see beyond them. For this reason, the Bardo Thodol suggests that spiritual practitioners train in life to detach from illusions and contemplate the nature of the mind. With such practice, even when faced with the intense visions of the Chonyid Bardo, they will be able to maintain their focus on the clear light and find peace. Fear and attachment are the greatest barriers to liberation. The visions, in their intensity, can provoke deep fear, especially the wrathful deities, which represent untamed aspects of the psyche. This fear creates a sense of separation, preventing the soul from recognizing the visions as parts of itself. The soul may desire to flee from these visions, or out of attachment, fixate on some of them, especially the peaceful visions, which keeps it bound to the cycle of samsara. To overcome this cycle, the soul must recognize the visions as empty of their own reality. In Tibetan Buddhism, this concept is known as shunyata, or emptiness. The mind that recalls emptiness during the Chonit Bardo can observe all visions but remains unattached, understanding them as mere temporary expressions of its own nature. The experience of the Chonit Bardo, therefore, is not a punishment or purposeless suffering, but a phase of revelation where the soul confronts the mirror of its own mind. It is a test that distinguishes those ready for liberation from those who still require rebirth to deepen their learning. 3. The Sitpa Bardo, rebirth. In the Sitpa Bardo, the final stage, the soul faces a crucial moment, the choice of its next body, determined by the accumulated energy of all actions, thoughts, and intentions, what we call karma. It is as if the entire previous journey has led to this point, where what we carry within determines our next destination. Entering this bardo, the soul has already experienced dissolution in the Chikai Bardo and faced its own projections and illusions in the Chonit Bardo. Now it finds itself in a state of greater psychic density where the desire for rebirth intensifies, driven by fears and attachments that have not yet been overcome. This desire, as Tibetan Buddhism teaches, is what compels the soul to seek a new body, a new form of existence. In the Sitpa Bardo, consciousness is influenced by karmic inclinations, which act as subtle marks left by actions from past lives. These marks function as magnetic forces, drawing the soul towards circumstances and experiences that mirror its inner state. If, for example, the soul carries a great deal of fear, that fear might guide it toward a rebirth where it will face those same emotions. Similarly, intense desires and uncontrolled emotions create a vortex of energy that shapes the kind of life the soul will encounter in the next cycle. During the Sitpa Bardo, the soul experiences a series of visions associated with the rebirth process. These visions often include images of couples in union, a metaphor for the creation of new life. Here, the soul is called to choose a new body, unconsciously guided by emotional tendencies and karmic impulses. In many descriptions, the Bardo Thodol suggests that upon seeing these images, the soul should maintain a state of detachment and lucidity. Only then can it avoid being blindly driven into an undesirable rebirth. For those who can sustain calm and detachment, the Sitpa Bardo offers one final chance for transcendence. There remains the possibility of not being reborn, of choosing the path of liberation. This is the goal of the spiritual practitioner. Rather than being reborn under the sway of illusions and attachments, they must recognize these visions as manifestations of their own mind, ephemeral and empty in nature. Throughout the experiences of the Sitpa Bardo, consciousness feels a strong attraction to a new body, a process that, according to the Bardo Thodol, can be compared to a psychic storm. It is as if the urge to continue existing to be once again becomes irresistible. The choice of a new body is not a conscious one. It happens through a deep instinctive call where the characteristics of the new rebirth are shaped by the mind's state. It is as if the next body were a mirror of what the soul's mind needs to experience or resolve. This process of choice also reflects the Buddhist belief that each rebirth is an opportunity for spiritual growth. The body the soul will choose aligns most closely with its karmic and spiritual development. However, many do not understand this opportunity and end up being reborn in adverse conditions, where suffering perpetuates itself. Those who can see beyond this illusion, however, may reach a state where, instead of rebirth, they can merge into the clear light, the ultimate essence of the mind. According to the Bardo Thodol, preparation for this final stage begins in life. By contemplating the nature of our desires and fears while still alive, we become more aware of the impulses that shape our destiny. Spiritual practices, such as meditation and reflection on death, strengthen the capacity for detachment, helping the mind to remain unbound by the dramas that arise in the Siddha Bardo. Thus, the Siddha Bardo reveals a simple yet profound truth, that life and death are interconnected, and that the cycle of rebirth is nothing more than a continuous expression of our own choices and perceptions. By freeing ourselves from attachments, we free ourselves from the cycle of rebirth and reach enlightenment, the state in which there is no more rebirth, for there is no longer the illusion of a fixed identity. The Bardo Thodol is not just a religious text or a compendium of esoteric beliefs. It is a tool for self-knowledge, a mirror for our mind, and a map for our destiny. It teaches us that death is the great full stop of the human story, but it is also the portal to new beginnings. As Ram Dass once said, when you die, there is only one question that matters. How much did you love? In this sense, the Tibetan Book of the Dead invites us to reflect on our own lives. Are we ready for the final journey? Are we prepared to let go of everything we believe we are? Perhaps by contemplating these teachings, we can not only prepare for death, but also learn to truly live. If this journey into the unknown resonated with you, share this video and subscribe to the channel. Let us know in the comments what intrigues you most about life after death. For the path of self-knowledge is long, and together we can explore the greatest mysteries of existence. Thank you for watching.